What is up, Cup Check audience? I'm back with my co-host, Zach Crutchfield. And by the time you're seeing this video, it'll probably be long past, but we're recording on All-Star Weekend, and my man LeBron balled out. Team LeBron undefeated in the All-Star game. If you're recording the game and you're like 6 weeks in the future by the time this video drops, you still haven't seen the game, this is your chance to click off. But LeBron hit the game winner. The GOAT showed out. Long time debated question: who's the GOAT, LeBron or Jordan? And I think it's clear. I think the man's taken over. But that's not what we're here to do today. We are here to break down our third base rankings for 2022. Zach, how you feeling about that?
Hey, that was all news to me. I didn't know about any of that, but you got me wondering.
The All-Star game?
Yeah.
He hit a fader, and it was like a step back fader, like almost like deep two for the win. And as the clock was winding down. So once they get to the fourth quarter, they play to like a certain score. It's like really weird. Like they have a certain number that they have to get to end the game. And like LeBron hit the winner. So
well, you got me wondering if this is a baseball show or a basketball show.
Well, we're about to answer that question. It's about to be a baseball show. So Zach, third base rankings. How was it when you were making your list? Did you struggle a little bit? What do you think about the third base?
The first six I thought were really easy to make. I think there's a pretty set in stone six in most lists. 7, 8, 9, 10 was really tough. A lot of guys that are just slacking. A lot of guys that had bad 2021s. And so that was a little tough to make there at the end, but let's just get it started. Who do you have at number one?
So I think that this was the easiest one out there, J-Ram. I mean, every year this dude delivers. If we're looking real quick at J-Ram stats from last year, as they just disappeared on my phone. I'm stalling for time, verbally stalling still. Here we go. J-Ram stats. The man last year hit 270, 36 bombs, 27 bags. So that's a fantasy.
It's everything you could ever want.
Exactly. And Zach doesn't even like stolen bases. So it's just really icing on the cake. He also added 111 runs and 104 RBIs. But that's wonderful. Not to mention that he was near the very top on all third base qualifiers for walks. He had 72 walks. And I do expect that number to continue to go up. I don't think that you really have to pitch to him now that he's pretty much a one-man show on the Guardians. So I feel like a lot of the times they're just going to walk him. But hey, if they walk him, that's easy stolen bases. And that's why we like J-Ram, right?
Yeah, I also have J-Ram at number one. Really easy pick. He just does it every single year. And it is tough now that he's really the only guy that can produce on that Cleveland lineup. Maybe he'll get moved as they keep trying to shed payroll. But we shall see. Who do you have at number two?
I have the young gun, Raphael Devers. I have him breaking beyond that Machado Arenado mold right now. I mean, really, Devers I think he had a down COVID year. I think the 2020 season was a little down for him. But I mean, last year he went absolutely ballistic. He hit 280 with 38 bombs, 115 RBIs, and that Boston lineup is pretty solid. I mean, they lost Hunter Renfroe, but they're going to be adding Tristan Casas. And a lot of people think Bobby Dahlbeck is going to be something special this year. So Devers in a really good lineup coming off a 38 bomb season. I want a lot of shares of Devers in my drafts for this year.
All right, my number two, I do have Manny Machado. I am a big Machado supporter. He puts up really good numbers every year. Last year, 28 bombs and 12 stolen bases. You don't really expect that out of Machado, but he'll still get you some bags with a solid 278 average. He's a guy that generally stays healthy. He's played almost a full season for the past 6 years now, ever since 2015. So I do like Machado at number 2. Number 3, I do have Devers.
True. One thing I'll say about Machado is I get into my number third ranked player, Manny Machado, is I think we saw it that year that San Diego was really exciting, when Tatis kind of broke onto the scene. I think if they're kind of like inching towards being a playoff team, like a little more competitive last year, that's just really going to elevate their play as well. And they're just going to have that like hype and the excitement that comes with that. And that's going to bring more home runs. That's going to bring more run production. That's going to bring more stolen bases. So I think that if that like contagious energy gets going in San Diego, that's really going to help Machado's value. And he might rank a little higher than third if they're contending for a playoff spot. So Zach,
I agree.
who do you have at your number 4 spot? I'm guessing we have the same one.
Number 4, I have Nolan Arenado.
Yeah, the Cardinal.
Yeah,
This
I was
was
always
this was Zach's man. Like all through our high school fantasy era, Zach would draft Colorado Arenado every year.
yeah, obviously that was a little bit of a different Arenado, a younger guy hitting in cores, but he's still the same player. A sneaky 34 bombs last year,
Very
and
sneaky, but one
little
thing
low
to
on the
note,
average, but I expect him to pick that back up. And he's a great hitter. He's always going to be on the field with that defense too. He's going to play every day. So yeah, I have Arenado at 4.
yeah, the one thing to note about Arenado is his run production and RBIs. They're definitely a little bit lower than some of the other guys that we just talked about. Devers and J-Ram and Machado were all around that 100-run range. Arenado just barely got to 80. So, 20 runs adds up over the time of a full season. And he also had a lot. No, okay. He actually had more RBIs than Machado, but definitely not as many RBIs as Devers or, yeah. No, he did not have more RBIs than Machado. Sorry, I was looking at extra bases. Machado had one more RBI than Arenado last year. So yeah, that's a little something to take notice of. He's going to get less runs. Maybe that'll change. The Cardinals lineup is young, and I think it's getting better and better. So Zach, moving on, who do you have at your number 5 spot?
Number 5, I would think we have the same guy. I have Austin Riley.
I have Austin Riley as well. I think this was the last like really easy set in stone pick.
I do
I mean,
too.
we'll probably have the same number 6, but
I think that's the
um,
thing about third base this year with shortstop. There's 10 guys that you can get that you really expect to produce every year. Third base, if you don't have one of these top 5 guys, it's really a question mark for your team. So third base definitely a position I want to focus on getting one of these top 5 guys pretty early on.
yeah, and the one thing we'll say about Austin Riley, the reason he's at 5 and he's not over Machado, Arenado, Devers, like he's not really in that tier yet for me, is just because we haven't seen him do it for very long yet. Like the other guys are more established, but I mean, if you're just to look at Austin Riley's 2021, you would take him over Arenado and Machado, and probably slate him at third because unlike the other third baseman we've talked about, Austin Riley had a 304 average with 33 bombs. So he kind of brought that average that was lacking a bit in Arenado and like a tiny bit in Machado. So the kid gets on base and he was a real hitting machine last year.
All right, number 6, I have a resurgence for Alex Bregman.
Same year.
Is that who you got?
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So Bregman, a guy that was the number 1 third baseman in the league for a few years. He had those years right around 40 home runs, and he was in that Astros lineup. And just a young talent. It really fell off, especially with that 2020 season. And I think both of us were expecting a bounce back last year, but it just did not happen. The exit velo's been down. all of it, all the baseball savant numbers have been down. So I'm not super high on Bregman, but
Yeah, and he even struggled a little bit, like a pretty sizable amount in the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure from when I was watching the series, he didn't really do too much in the World Series games, but nonetheless, in that stacked Astros lineup, I mean, they're probably losing Correa. Alex Bregman was always hitting third. They did not move him. The Astros still believe in Bregman to kind of be the anchor of that offense. And the one thing I'll say about Bregman is he still hit 270, which is pretty solid for the games he played last year. But Bregman, I don't think we can really say that he's like fallen off or completely write him off, because the dude was playing with a broken wrist. I mean, he had surgery like the week after the World Series, so he was trying to play. Like he was playing hurt. He was trying to be there for his team, and we're gonna get to find out what a healthy Bregman looks like in the 2022 season. If you don't already, you should go check out Bregman's YouTube channel. He posts weekly, and I don't know about you, Zach, but I find it fun when I can kind of like watch the everyday lives of my fantasy players like occasionally and kind of like see what they're doing. And the one thing I've learned about Bregman is he really grinds, and he does take it seriously, where I feel like a lot of guys probably don't, that already have like the big money. Bregman on his Instagram stories, he's in the gym every day, he's hitting every day. He does this like weird swing.
well, there's a lot of guys that are doing that and not posting it on Instagram.
Okay, so that's fair, but I think it's entertaining for the everyday fan to be able to kind of see what your favorite players are doing. And I don't know what Arenado's doing this off season. I'm sure he's grinding hard, but he's not really a social media guy. And I get to watch Bregman take hacks in the cage and lift. So I don't know. I think Bregman's taking it seriously.
Yeah.
I think
So in the playoffs, by the way,
yeah.
in the playoffs, he did well in the ALDS. ALCS, he struggled with only 1 home run, 217 average. World Series, though, he had a .095 average, so struggled.
That's a tough one. Moving on, who do you have at 7? I think I'm going to shock you with my number 7.
I have Chris Bryant. Who do you have?
I have the new third baseman, Alberto Mondesi. With Bobby Witt coming
There's
up.
no way that counts.
100%. With Bobby Witt coming up, Mondesi's moving to third. He's moving to third, guys. We'll talk about Chris, and I'll get into Mondesi here in a second.
All right, yeah, Chris, we saw he handled the move to the Giants pretty well, put up good numbers. And another thing about Chris Bryant is he still can get a few bags too. He's not known for that, but he might push you over the edge if you're really struggling in stolen bases. Overall, just a solid player. He's one of those guys that he hasn't lived up to all the hype because he did have so much hype coming up. Probably not going to hit you 30 home runs. He might get there. Probably going to hit you around 280. But in this tier of shortstops, I think that's really valuable because it gets pretty bad pretty fast. So talk about Mondesi for a sec, who I didn't even know was an option.
So Zach over here hating on Mondesi, but didn't do his research because ESPN only has Mondesi listed as a third baseman. He has no shortstop eligibility, no second base. So, I mean, realistically, Mondesi's positionless right now, and no one really knows what the Royals are going to do. But I'm going off ESPN giving him third base eligibility. And if I'm looking at his averages last year, it's insane. All right, I'm about to blow your socks off. All right. Now, the one thing that's really down about Mondesi is the average. He only hit 230 last year. All right. But for a dude who I can
How many games did he play?
This is the other thing that's very down. He only played 35 games. But in those 35 games, other than the average and on base, he was immaculate. All right. So if Mondesi can play a whole 162 games, which is asking a lot of Mondesi at this point, he was on pace. Are you ready for this, Zach? he was on pace for 25 bombs, 76 stolen bases. In 2021, Mondesi in 126 at bats hit 6 bombs. So I gave him a generous 530 plate appearances to get that 25 bombs. I think that puts him near the middle of the top in terms of at bats. But he did steal 15 bags in 35 games.
Wow.
That is amazing, and that's everything that you want to see. He finished third among all third basemen in stolen bases, and he only played 35 games. He had basically 1/5 of J Ram's at bats last year and put up really solid numbers, other than pretty low on base and average. So, I mean, by some miracle that this dude can stay healthy, he's a league winner. All right. Because you
I
don't
didn't know
see
you were such a math guy.
a math guy. Do you not see these glasses?
I did.
Yeah. So, I mean, by some miracle, if he can stay healthy and get you 76 stolen bases, and like where he's, I want to see what his ADP is real quick. Do you know off the top of your head?
Not off the top of the dome.
It's looking like
I do like the pick though, because as I was saying earlier, it gets tough in this later
yeah,
later tier of third baseman.
they really
So
do be
sometimes if you
getting
go for a
tough.
risk, you can go for a risk, try to get some stolen bases, something that'll help you win your league.
Yeah, it do be tough. And according to Fantasy Pros, they have his ADP at 68. So, I mean, you're taking a really big risk by taking him in that like sixth, seventh round area for a guy who really doesn't play games. And honestly, there's a good chance. Kansas City really loves Nick Prato and Nicky Lopez. So, like, those are two guys that are going to come up. Um, Lopez is probably going to compete with him for third or second, and then Prato will either be first or third or something. I'm not really too sure what he plays, but a lot of competition in that Kansas City infield. But if Mondesi can somehow play 162 games, he's a fantasy god. So moving on, who do you have at your number 7? Or you already said that you have Bryant, right?
Yeah, my number 8 is the old man, almost old enough to be my grandpa, Justin Turner.
You're
Justin
tweaking.
Turner.
You're
Justin
tweaking.
Turner in the last 2 full seasons has hit 27 home runs in each of those.
All right. So he is the anti Mondesi. He just plays
The
every game.
anti-Mondesi. In 19, he had a 290 batting average. In 2020, he had a 307 batting average. 2021, a 278 batting average. Honestly, his numbers that he's putting up are better than Chris Bryant offensively. And it's hard to expect that from a guy that's entering his age 37th season. But if he keeps doing it and he's got another year on his contract with the Dodgers, not a bad pick.
Zach is making me think I should have included Turner in my top 10. He would probably have slotted 11th. My 10th pick, I went a little out of the ordinary. Dude, I think it's going to break out, but we'll get to that in a minute. I have a guy at number 8 who I think Zach might have ridden off a little too quickly. I have Anthony Rendon. I think that the Angels are going to come back, and I think they're going to be hungry to win. And I think that Trout's going to be healthy. I think Rendon's going to be healthy. And I don't expect Rendon to be that MVP candidate that he once was, but I expect him to be an above average third baseman and one that should be on every fantasy roster. So I got a little Rendon bounce back coming.
Yeah, I struggled a lot with where to rank Rendon. Number 9, though, I do have Joanne Mankata of the White Sox. He struggled. He was a big prospect. He strikes out a lot. But at this point, I'm willing to take a risk on a guy that's still young even though he has been in the league for a few years and he hasn't really proven too much. He's still young, and he's automatically going to get some runs and RBI just being in that White Sox lineup, surrounded by such good hitters.
I really didn't think Zach was going to go the Yohan Mankata route. I think generally our fantasy tendencies, I tend to value the young guys with the high upside, and Zach tends to value the veterans who just get it done. So a little shocking there to see me with Rendon and Zach with Mankata at this point. For my number 9, I had Chris Bryant. Just another old reliable. He's just not going to blow your socks off, but he's going to put up numbers that are consistent with a late round third baseman guy that you can kind of grab and stack your team in other areas. Moving on, who do you have at number 10? Finishing up
Rounding out my list, I thought I had to include Anthony Rendon. I don't have too much faith in the guy, I'm not going to lie. Struggled with injuries, and he is getting kind of old.
Get that fat contract too.
Back on, and
I don't know how he finessed that contract, but congrats to Rendon.
A brutal season, and he really has never been good with the Angels. He kind of fell off as soon as he left the Nationals, but he was so good at fantasy that I had to put him in this list at number 10.
He's kind of, I mean, if he doesn't figure it out, he's going to be the Angels' second coming of Albert Pujols. Sadly, just absolute big daddy contract through the late years and just not really producing. Coming at my number 10, like I said earlier, I went a little out of the ordinary. And, me and Zach are really missing our third host, Trent. And I think that this is one that Trent will really respect and like. I'm going with Eduardo Escobar, recently heading to the Brewers. And I just think that Escobar's a hitter, and he's heading to maybe the greatest ballpark for hitters other than Coors. So, I mean, at this point, I'm willing to take the risk on a guy who I think has decent power, and I think he's going to get on base a decent amount, and he's going to a really good ballpark. So, and he's going to have that dual eligibility, second base and third base. So I do like him. I did really struggle with not ranking Bryant, Hayes, and Mankata, because I think those are two guys that they could really break out at some point. I mean, Key Bryant's definitely regarded highly because of his defense, but I think that once he kind of figures out the hitting, I think he could be an exciting player.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, I mean, interesting top 10. It really falls off there at the end, but if you find that guy, one of these guys might be a late round steal. And there's even some other guys that are interesting, like Suarez was left off our list.
Suarez like still leads. Yeah, Suarez like still leads the league in homers from like 2018 or like 2018 to now. He's like number 1 or something. It's crazy.
Matt Chapman really fell off to Bryant Hayes, like you said. We were expecting a little more from him, but yeah, third base is interesting.
Also, no. Is he a third baseman? Do we know? I don't know.
I don't think so.
A lot of these guys just hit nukes who got left off the list. Rest in peace, Kyle Seager, just no longer on the third base charts. Dude hit some nukes to end out his career, but yeah, he will be missed. So everybody, that is going to do it for our top 10 third baseman video. Let us know if you guys like this format with us kind of breaking down the stats on the players a little bit more, kind of getting more in depth, or if you guys like it more when we're just kind of like listing off the names. If you're still here, shout out to you. You're one of our number 1 fans, probably the number 1 fan. But
probably the only fan.
But you know what? You're going to be able to tell your kids that you were the first fan of Cup Check once it gets bought by ESPN. So, yeah, that's going to do it, everybody. Thanks for watching. Clocking out.
See you.